from the Sky News Centre, this is SkyNews.com with Martin Stanford.
This is Sky News with a web's agenda. Tonight, a British actress commits suicide in Paris. It's the most clicked story on our website. We'll have the news moving up across the internet, including why DVDs could soon be a thing of the past. President Obama says he will press ahead with plans to close Guantanamo. It's getting the most buzz online. Plus, the boring building turned into a light spectacular, and more of the most popular web videos. On our website, click this button to watch a live stream of this show online. Check back regularly for all the links we talk about on SkyNews.com. First, the most clicked stories on the website today. Here they are in reverse order. With 3% of clicks, a jealous fan has allegedly attacked the ex-girlfriend of Simon Cowell. Model and TV presenter Terry Seymour was left shaken after a woman attempted to choke her as she left the American Idol TV show finale. With 3.5% of clicks, 4 men have been arrested for allegedly plotting to bomb a New York synagogue and shoot down aircraft with missiles. The suspects were arrested after they were sold an inactive missile and explosives as part of an FBI sting operation.
4 individuals were arrested for planting bombs in the front of 2 synagogues in the area. The bombs had been made by the FBI technicians. They were totally inert. No one was ever at risk.
With 4% of clicks today, a passenger plane was allowed to fly for 11 days after suffering a serious malfunction on landing. The Thompson flight jet stalled as it came into land at Bournemouth Airport, according to a report by the Air Accidents Investigation Branch. It remained in service for almost 2 weeks after this incident because the seriousness of the incident was not recognised at first. With 4.5% of clicks today, Gordon Brown has rejected claims that 2 of his cabinet ministers avoided paying capital gains tax on the sale of their homes. The Prime Minister's defence of Jeff Hoon and James Purnell came after the latest Daily Telegraph claims about MPs' expenses.
I think it's important that they have made the statements, they have said what they have done. There is an inquiry going on in Parliament. People will look back on the expenses of the last 4 years. They'll make a judgment, but as far as I know, there is no problem that needs to be dealt with.
With 5% of clicks today, the mother of baby P has said she'll never forgive herself for failing her son. The 27-year-old wrote a letter of apology to a judge on the eve of her sentencing in connection with the toddler's death. With 6% of traffic today, dogs are increasingly being used as weapons by young people. This is according to the RSPCA. The animal charity has seen a big rise in the number of dog fights and has seen more dogs needing treatment for injuries.
The situation that the majority of the dogs I see are kept in, they're kept in very small flats, small balconies, very little exercise. By the time they're out on a leash on the street, these animals are uncontrollable. And that's the animals that are kept on the lead. We're seeing more and more animals that are coming into places like the RSPCA hospital that have had road traffic accidents because they're not kept on a lead at all.
With 9% of clicks today, a motorist has been arrested on suspicion of drink driving and attempted murder after his Rolls-Royce crashed through a supermarket window. 6 women received minor injuries when the car drove into the front of Tesco stores in Andover. Our countdown continues with 14%. An Egyptian billionaire has been sentenced to death for ordering the murder of his former lover, a Lebanese pop singer. Politician and property tycoon Hisham Talat Mustafa was found guilty of paying a hitman more than £1 million to kill Susanna Tayman.
We are grateful for the verdict, and we had no doubts about the justice of the Egyptian court. No one can be happy about death, whether it is a crime or a death sentence.
Let's take it to Cairo. Nadia Abu Il-Magd is the Egypt correspondent at the national newspaper. That's an English language paper from Abu Dhabi. So tell me, is that the end of the road, or could there be an appeal on this sentence launched?
No, this is not the end of the road. First of all, the verdict will become final on June 25th after Egypt's Mufti, which is like one of the major religious scholars in the country, give his opinion, which is sort of a formality on the verdict. And then after the 25th, after the 3 panel judges put the reasoning of the verdict, then the lawyers of the defendants can try to seek appeal on the grounds of if there was any kind of legal misdoings or legal mistakes.
It is an extraordinary tale, isn't it, of the powerful and the famous. How's this being judged amongst the local people?
Yeah, it has been dubbed as the trial of the age and the trial of lust and blood and the trial of the 21st century. It's one of the most Googled issues, not only in Egypt but across the Arab world.
Nadia, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you for joining us from Cairo tonight. And our most clicked story, 27% of all traffic to our site today, a British actress who starred in the Spider-Man 3 movie.
They seem to be creating some kind of gigantic lettering. It's hard to believe what's happening.
Well, there she is on film. She has committed suicide in Paris. French police say Lucy Gordon's body was found hanging in her flat near the River Seine. She was discovered by her boyfriend. Well, that's our countdown tonight. Coming up, the most popular web video, including this clip. Who needs a football when you've got an old TV? Well, next, the debate's getting the buzz online today. One of the most discussed stories is two conflicting views of how America should fight the war on terror. President Obama said today that he will press ahead with plans to close Guantanamo Bay camp. But former Vice President Dick Cheney called that decision unwise, saying it would make Americans less safe.
I am not going to release individuals who endanger the American people. Al-Qaeda terrorists and their affiliates are at war with the United States, and those that we capture, like other prisoners of war, must be prevented from attacking us again. Now, having said that, we must recognize that these detention policies cannot be unbounded.
On his second day in office, President Obama announced he was closing the detention facility at Guantanamo. This step came with little deliberation and no plan. Now the president says some of these terrorists should be brought to American soil for trial in our court system. Others, he says, will be shipped to third countries. But so far, the United States has had little luck getting other countries to take hardened terrorists.
Well, the man who's been across this story for us is Foreign Affairs Editor Tim Marshall. And online, Tim, interesting to see how everyone's reporting and talking about this. Let's just take one example here. Time Magazine's political blog. They've got this as a great big fight between Obama and Cheney. Yep. That's the introductory of the page. Later on, they've got boxers battling it out. If it was a boxing match, who won?
I think it was a draw because I've blogged on it as well, but I've come up with the same as Newsweek in that it was a big battle. I've used this phrase, hammer and tongues, because they really did go at it. But I've drawn a different conclusion, that they actually have ended up partially agreeing with each other, which they would never like to admit. But this was really quite vicious stuff. Mr. Obama laid into the Bush administration saying, you know what, 8 years of your administration, you pretty much tore up our Constitution, our values, what America stands for, and you trashed it. I mean, he didn't put it quite as bluntly as that, but that is what he meant, clearly. Back came the former vice president with equally blunt language, saying, you know, you're talking rubbish. And then he reminded us, Mr. Cheney, that Mr. Obama has continued to say, I will have the right to use these enhanced interrogation techniques if I choose to. So he's hung on to those. And also, Mr. Obama has run into terrible problems in closing Guantanamo Bay, but I picked out this piece in the speech, which really quite surprised me. Because Mr. Obama cannot get his policy through Congress, he suspended habeas corpus at Guantanamo. It's a little bit, you have to join about 3 paragraphs together, and you realize the argument he's making is, for those we can't put on trial but we know are dodgy, well, we've got to find a legal framework for keeping them in jail without ever putting them on trial. Now, I call that a suspension of habeas corpus, and he said it in the very room where there's a copy, the 1297 copy of the Magna Carta.
He chose the location very carefully.
But it's blogtastic. People are going crazy on it.
Well, let me just show you some more, if I may share this with you. This is the Torture Duel blog that we found over here as well. This guy is saying, and it is a gentleman who's writing this, the issue of Guantanamo and torture was decided at the last election. Obama won. Job done.
Well, if that's the case, why has the current president continued to say, I reserve the right to use enhanced interrogation techniques, not waterboarding, that he has ruled out. But this president accepts that. that he may have to use in certain circumstances. And this president accepts that he may have to detain people without trial. It's not as clear as Republican and Democrat. It's not as clear as I'm going to close Guantanamo. This is a legal, moral, and political nightmare, which is why it's causing so much heat and some light on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the heat there in the language and the literally thousands of words being written. Here's another one. Republican bloggers, of course, enjoying the occasion here, praising Cheney, criticising Obama. So I wonder, Tim, he's had a pretty good few months, I think, by most people's judgment. Is this one issue where the Obama magic might just flounder?
Yes, but you're allowed one. Because he has been steadfastly on the front foot, positive, got an amazing reaction out of Europe when he came here, out of most of the parts of the world, and he still has approval ratings around about the 76%, which is above where most presidents are. It's close to where most presidents are after 120 days, but he's higher than most. He's got an enormous amount of goodwill, but on this one issue, I'm not sure he's going to come out looking good because he's inherited such an awful problem and he's not managing his way through it. But, you know, one issue out of so many, I get the impression that his traction is slowing down. He's getting bogged down in the detail. It's inevitable, and he knew it would happen, but he's still...
Maybe he thinks this one is worth getting dug into the
on
detail.
the moral issue, yes. Now, you know, I've brought out the other moral side of things, that he's got detention without trial and enhanced interrogation techniques. Nevertheless, he clearly wants a break from the past, and he wants to restore America's standing, even if the reality of it is that one administration is actually reasonably close to another administration. Okay. But perception is important.
I mean, take a few seconds just to plug your blog.
Oh, if you would.
There it is. Let's cut it to line. There we go.
Well,
let's show it on the telly.
No,
now, you've put Miliband in there. Explain in a very few seconds why. Where does he stand in all this between those two guys?
It will be spelt Miliband with an I very, very shortly. Basically, Mr. Miliband gave a foreign policy speech today in which he had a mea culpa. He said, you know what, even myself, Mr. Miliband, the Foreign Secretary, have used language as moderates and extremists, and I've thrown it around a little loosely, and it hasn't helped the argument. A very rare mea culpa from an MP in this current climate. I just sort of threw Mr. Miliband into the mix there. But what is it, www.foreignmatters.com?
It's a fantastic blog. You can find it on the Sky News site.
God bless
Tim,
you.
thank you very much indeed. OK, let's do the stories now you've been searching for on the Sky News website. Let's do another countdown here. And here is number 5 on our list today. Birthdays. The greeting card business went into administration today. That's why that story has been looked after. The 4th most searched for story, Facebook. It may be harder than you think to delete photos from social networking sites, a topic we're going to do later on tonight. Now, the 3rd most common search term today is missing link. You search for more on the discovery of a 47-million-year-old fossil that's been hailed as the missing link in human evolution, one of the stories we did on .com yesterday. The 2nd most search term, weather. You're looking ahead to forecasts of a hot and sunny bank holiday weekend. Hoorah for that. And the most popular search term on the Sky News website today is swine flu. The Health Protection Agency warning anyone travelling abroad this half-term holiday, do take precautions. Now, you can comment on those stories, and you can check out how this programme blog, as well as the Foreign Matters blog, is shaping up on our website. You just go to SkyNews.com, follow the links from there. Now let's do the stories moving up across the internet as a whole. Michael Moran is here from Times Online. Good to see you, Michael. Welcome along. Now, DVDs, a thing of the past?
Well, not quite, but nearly. I was so pleased when I first saw this story, because my front room, I'm sure like yours, many other people's, this massive teetering pile of DVDs, some of them out of their boxes. It's all a bit of chaos, and the idea that you could fit them all on one magical disc struck me as quite exciting. It's a very complicated sort of...
This is the theory, isn't it, right? We can have a disc that will take 20... How many films?
Well, the data says 10,000 times as much stuff, but only 2,000 films. And I can get one film on a DVD, no problem.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more science to be done, I think.
Yeah.
And it's some magical 5-dimensional technology that grown-ups understand that baffled me completely. I was quite pleased about it. Apparently it's 5 years off. I can't help thinking that 5 years hence we'll all just be watching things on our Sky Plus or whatever it might be.
Storage has improved just astronomically over the last few years. They're probably right. Hey, this is another thing that's doomed, the male population.
Yes.
Tell me more.
We've got 5 million years for that. The idea is that the amount of chromosomes on the genes of the Y chromosome are degrading over time, and that eventually we're going to run out of them, and at that point there won't be a Y chromosome, so there won't be any chaps. But then again, in 5 million years, bearing in mind that as a species we're only about, 1-2 million years old, in 5 million years we've done all sorts of stuff to ourselves anyway. We'll be post-human and have little add-ons, so I'm not too fretting. I'm not fretting about it.
Now, KFC's Colonel Sanders gets the Google Street View treatment.
Yes, he's fuzzed out.
This is what Google promised to do, isn't it? Any faces?
Yeah, well, the story is interesting in that at one point Google's spokesman says they did it on purpose and they're defending the Colonel's identity. And another part of the story here, they also say that it's an accident of the way that the technology works. It's automatically recognising faces is very clever. I don't really mind which. I'm just pleased that KFC are getting some free advertising. They've got all these people pretending to be them. No one yet's come up with blurred fried chicken, but it's only a matter of time.
YouTube, careful about videos they had on yesterday.
Yes, and indeed for the next couple of days. As long as there have been people on Earth, there have been 14-year-old boys coming out with, you know, mucky little gags here and there and everywhere. They're going to carry on. And nowadays, the fourth form common room of the internet is 4chan and that kind of place, eBAM's world. And they're trying to spam or, you know, Google bomb YouTube with these mucky videos. You may well find some if you are incautious or unlucky, but that's true of the internet in general. It's that kind of place.
You have to be careful where you go. Michael, good to see you.
Thank you very much
indeed. Michael Moran from Times Online, our guest tonight. On the website, you can click this box to watch this programme as a live stream, and all the links we talked about with Michael and others, we'll post them right there, SkyNews.com. Coming up tonight, the most popular web video, including this one, exercise, not always good for you. How Facebook photos could come back to haunt you, even if you've deleted them. Plus, for those watching live online, the New Zealand couple on the run after a bank turned them into millionaires. Tell you that story during this commercial break.